You know, this day is a bit of a holiday in professional wrestling, but not one we so much celebrate as mourn, for lack of a better term. So, what is it that we are mourning exactly? Well, the existence of this fucking storyline. Hello, everyone. I'm the Boonslayer, and I'm here to rewrite one of the most infamously terrible wrestling storylines in history, and one that whose sole purpose was to promote a crappy horror film. The May 19th storyline. There's another related storyline that I will need to rewrite at some other point, but for now, let's focus on May 19th. So the basic concept of the May 19th storyline was that Kane, who was in a tag team with the Big Show at this point, they were big and dominant boys. Kane started hearing these voices in his head that kept repeating the date May 19th and saying things like, it's happening again. And, you know, it was kind of disrupting his head in the middle of matches and whatnot. And that part was fine. Sort of. You know, it was a little bit hokey, but, you know, whatever. A little bit hokey is one thing. May 19th, by the way, was the release date for the film See No Evil, which starred Kane, which is the entire reason they fucking did this. And basically, kind of near the beginning of it, like, Kane and Big Show had just lost their tag team titles, and Kane started hearing the voices, so they lost their rematch. And then there was, like, a feud between Kane and the Big Show. So, where basically Kane was hearing the voices, and Big Show was like, oh my god, stat. And Kane's like, no! And Kane was, like, obsessed with the date, May 19th. If he saw it, or he heard somebody say it, and he would like attack whoever was doing it. And then on the actual date, May 19th, it just kind of threw him in the middle of a world title feud that he had nothing to do with before and had nothing to do with after. Kind of horseshit. Okay, so the big problems with the storyline. Number one, it was half-assed as fuck, okay? This was intended to market the movie See No Evil, but the problem was Kane was still Kane. There was nothing really that promoted the movie other than driving the date of the movie's release into your brain. There may have been like one segment that actually promoted the movie through the use of this storyline over the course of the 2 months. But that was about it. And the other issue was that the date that they kept repeating, May 19th, was on a Friday, and during this time, SmackDown was on Fridays, but Kane was on Raw. So, don't know how that was supposed to fucking work. And the other big issue, this is a bigger issue, this is one that sort of ties into the after feud more so than this one. They couldn't seem to decide between Kane being face and heel, and I don't mind, you know, them having a tweener, and I think this sort of being a transitional period into Kane being a heel would work. That's how I'm going to do it, by the way. A bit of a spoiler there, but transitioning into a heel would work, but that's not really what they did. They just sort of had him just be a guy that attacks people during the storyline and didn't really do anything at all to make him either face or heel. Like, he basically was a face, and then he was a tweener, and then he was a face again. Whereas here, I'm going to use this to sort of have him kind of be a tweener transitioning into a heel. So in reality, the beginning of this feud comes down to sort of the disillusion of the team of Big Show and Kane, so that's where I'm going to start. The night after WrestleMania, on this particular year, Kane and the Big Show had lost their tag team titles in Spirit Squad, which is a group of 5 male cheerleaders. Mid-2000s WWE was kind of stupid. Anyway, so this was their rematch, and Kane starts hearing the voices in his head that we kind of associate with the storyline, before that rematch, and he kind of, you know, ends up walking out or some shit on the match. That's fine. But when I first had the voices thing, I already knew it was the release date for See No Evil. I'm not fucking retarded. But so I was thinking, it's like, oh, they're gonna like sort of transition him into being more like Jacob Goodnight, the main antagonist that Kane plays in See No Evil. That's clearly the most fitting way to do this, right? No, that's not what they did. They just had him randomly start attacking people. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to have him transition into this sort of new role of his, where he's incorporating the elements of that film into his in-ring character, much like they did with John Cena with the Marine, which actually kind of worked, but I think it would work better here. I didn't really have a big problem with the storyline at this point until Backlash. Backlash was where things got a little bit too hokey, with like the red light coming on and Kane sort of holding his head in the middle of the ring while the voice played over the PA, and the announcers acted like they didn't know what was going on, even though everybody could fucking see it. That always is so fucking retarded when people do that. I know I said the word retarded twice in one video, now 3 times. I'm sorry if that offends you, but you know, it is a sign of mental retardation when you write something that stupid. But here's how I would change this one. I think if they want the Big Show to win this match, if they really want him to win, granted, he didn't even win the match, because the way the match ended was like Big Show goes for Kane's eyes. That's problem number 1. Big Show going for Kane's eyes. It should be the other way around. And Kane like throws Big Show out of the ring, like pushes him out of the ring or some shit. You know, I think it should be Kane goes for Big Show's eyes. Maybe Big Show pushes him out or something. My fucking phone goes off. That's another thing that happens during the match. So yeah, Kane goes for Big Show's eyes. Big Show gets him off of him or whatever. Maybe they have something where Big Show is about to go after Kane, but Kane sort of reverses it into just tossing Show out, and then I don't think they should do the red light thing or anything like that. I think Kane being in the ring, like clutching his head in pain. And another thing about the red light thing is that they held on to it for way too fucking long. It was way too long while Big Show like got the fucking chair. Like, that's just it. The match didn't even end with an actual result. It just ended with like red lights come on. Show hits Kane with a chair in the head. And then Big Show walks away, and that's the match. Like, it's so stupid. Okay, if you're gonna have Big Show hit Kane with a chair to like knock some sense into him, maybe in the match in a disqualification, maybe have the ref like, I don't know, maybe have the ref sort of ring the bell when all the weird shit starts going down, if you're gonna still use the weird shit. What I would do though is just have Kane go ballistic and fucking win. That's how I would do it. But if you insist on Big Show getting the upper hand at the end, yeah, do the steel chair thing. I wouldn't do the red lighting thing because of what happens next. I would actually, there is actually a good reason for me to not have the red lights. So we're basically entering the end of the feud with the Big Show at this point. There's one more match where Big Show does like some playful technical wrestling to try to get back on Kane's good side. You know, it's actually a good story progression match where like Big Show's still trying to get Kane on his side, but Kane ends up being too far gone, and just the way I would do it is Kane is too far gone for Big Show at this point, and he just goes after Big Show with a chair repeatedly and gets himself disqualified. You can make yourself look strong in losing, and I think that is where that comes into play. There's also during this initial week as well, there's one segment that I definitely want to make sure I keep, and but with a small change. They have like the other actors from the movie See No Evil show up, and Kane kind of stalks him from behind, and he like goes after the guy who keeps saying May 19th. I think that works really well. That's the one that actually promotes the movie, and it kind of ties into him sort of becoming Jacob Goodnight, as it were. And, you know, I would keep that, but I would have the actors actually, I don't know, fucking act. Maybe. Do your job. But yeah, what I would do is in that match with the Big Show's still trying to be the good guy, and then Kane is like, no, I am a bad guy now. No, I'm psychotic. None of that shit. And that's the end of that storyline, and thus we move into the Jacob Goodnight era, as it were, as sort of the May 19th obsession continues. There are a number of dumb segments that I would cut down on. And what I would probably be doing during this period where we're headed towards the date May 19th is I would have Kane, like, again, being more and more psychotic, much like with the Big Show. Yes, have him randomly attack people, not really caring whether they are face or heel. I think that fits in nicely. But I also think that he should sort of, you know, wrestle almost as though he is Jacob Goodnight. Like, have him sort of start thinking of himself as though he were Jacob Goodnight. Which leads me to the date, May 19th itself. This is a bit of a tough spot, because Kane was on Raw, and the date itself, May 19th, is on SmackDown, and it doesn't make any sense to just trade him to SmackDown out of nowhere for this sole purpose. But at the same time, it does really feel like a waste to not have something happen on this date. So I'm going to partially lean into how ridiculous this is, in a sense, but I'm also going to try to incorporate it into the overall story. What I'm going to do is we're going to have this mid-card match go on SmackDown. I don't remember who was in the mid-card in like 2007, 2008. I don't. Random dudes. Sure. Then Kane comes out, perhaps not even with music or anything. And like what I would really do is on this particular date, even if you don't make this a permanent part of his character, right? On this particular date, I would have him come out in like the grungy brown scrubs type of thing. Have him really look like Jacob Goodnight. And basically kind of tell people, why the fuck are you watching SmackDown right now? You should go see this guy kill people in a movie theater. Kind of do that thing. You know. I think it would actually be a lot more effective than WWE would be willing to give it credit for. And again, even if this isn't a permanent change to the character, I would still think that this would be a good addition to sort of the mythos of Glenn Jacob Calloway. That's right. I've kept track with some of the shit like in the books and whatnot. I don't know everything in the books, but this is sort of something to add to that mythos in a sense, where he sort of has this sort of split personality thing going on. And yeah, basically going forward from this, they still have to promote them. So basically, going forward from this, they still have to promote the movie. So what they can do is sort of have Kane continue wrestling while incorporating the Jacob Goodnight character, possibly have him fully be in Jacob Goodnight mode. Possibly later down the line, he gets snapped out of it. If they really don't want to keep that. Or they could just keep it as part of the character. Either way works. And at this point, they don't really need to do any of the things that they ended up actually doing in real life after the date of May 19th. Which is the even more terrible part of this storyline. But you know what? That seems a bit too easy. So here's what I'm going to do. This time next year, I'm going to redo that as well, using what I've changed here.